Around 5 years ago, my sister graduated from college with a master's degree. She was always wicked smart. She graduated not only with honors, but 6 months early as well. Instead of graduating at the beginning of summer, she graduated in the middle of winter. I promised her we'd do something fun when she graduated, and I wasn't one to let the snow stop me. She deserved it. Originally, I'd planned to take her to Cancun. She had been talking about wanting to go there ever since we were teenagers. Well, I wasn't about to take her to Cancun in the middle of winter. It just didn't seem logical. I still wanted to take her on a vacation though, one that she'd always remember. Taking the weather and everything else into account, I opted to go for a cabin. A nice one of those authentic cabins. It was basically a beach house cosplaying as a cabin. It sat in the middle of a dense forest deep in the hills of Virginia. It was 3 stories, 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, a hot tub, 5 flat-screen TVs, heating, AC, a full motorized kitchen, and other miscellaneous luxuries. It was about the same price as Cancun would have been, and we'd be staying there 2 extra days in the cabin than we would have been at the hotel in Cancun. When I showed her the cabin and our receipt, her eyes beamed with excitement. She started to pace and talk quickly, something she'd always done since we were kids. It's how I could tell when she was genuinely excited about something. Honestly, I felt like the best sibling in the entire world. I told her that we'd be leaving in a couple of days and that we should start packing right then and there, and she was more than happy to oblige. Now, I didn't want to just randomly pick this cabin. I wanted to make this a great time for my sister, and I wanted my money to be well spent. I searched for days, and this was one of the most highly rated cabins. It claimed to be so luxurious that you never want to leave. Yeah, it kind of defeats the whole purpose of the going exploring thing, right? Weird sales pitch for a cabin, but that went right over my head. The reviews were surprisingly all well written and said great things. I thought I saw the same comment twice here and there, but I thought nothing of it. I honestly think I was just as excited as she was. 2 days of packing and making more plans than we'd probably have time for, we finally set out for our trip. It was a 12-hour drive, and I think she only slept for about an hour. She talked the whole way there, even when we switched places so I could take a break from driving. We got there around 10 hours after we'd left our house. My sister definitely shaved off some time while we were driving. I'm honestly surprised we didn't get a ticket. You had to drive down beneath a path about 30 minutes into the woods to even reach the cabin. The trail was tight, giving no leeway for swerve. It was surrounded in dense forest. If you walked away from the trail, you'd get lost in minutes. It was eerie. The sun was going down and it was getting darker. The second we reached the cabin though, all of those feelings washed away. It was beautiful, unlike any cabin I'd ever seen. The wood was dark and polished. The exterior had a wide front deck that wrapped around the entire first floor of the cabin. You could walk from the front door all the way to the back deck. The back deck had a hot tub that was shielded by a small pavilion. You could access the sliding door in one of the bedrooms from the back, and if you walked up a small flight of stairs, you would enter the back entrance. It was incredible. We hurried our stuff in and quickly packed out our rooms. After we'd settled, we'd stocked the fridge. I made us a steak with mashed potatoes. I pulled out an expensive bottle of wine I'd been saving. I poured us each a glass and we ate in the living room so we could find something to watch. Each TV had a streaming service list, and we picked one we already had an account to. We put on a show we'd been watching back home and turned on the fireplace below the TV. Everything was perfect. The next day, we'd planned to go exploring along the trails that lay about a quarter mile from the cabin. We had a map with us and felt pretty confident. We didn't plan to go exploring for long, but we had to give it a go. I didn't really like hiking or really the woods at all, but she loved nature and I loved her. This was all for her after all. Seeing her enthusiasm about the whole trip was enough for me to put my fears aside and be excited for her. Everything was going well. We reached the trail in no time. Me being asthmatic though, I had to stop a few times. I used my inhaler and waited for my breath to return to normal. After that, we were on our way. Halfway into the trail, I realized my sister hadn't said anything in almost an hour. I thought she was just consumed in the nature surrounding us. After about 2 hours, I finally broke the silence. Hey sis, I think we should head back now. What do you think? I was over walking, but I tried to sound cheerful. Okay, I guess. Her voice sounded happy, but I could tell she was shielding disappointment. On our way back, she started talking very quietly. I was about 10 feet behind her at all times because I wasn't exactly in the best shape. She was trucking along while I was struggling. I didn't complain though. She seemed to be enjoying herself, even with all the silence. I sprinted for a second to catch up with her. She was still talking, but once I caught up to her, I realized it was more of a mumble. She was mumbling so fast I couldn't make out anything. "Hey, what are you talking about?" I asked quietly. As soon as the words left my mouth, she went completely silent.
Whoa! I never thought you'd catch up to me. Listen, you don't have to strain yourself. Walk at your own pace. I'll slow down.
No, I just thought you were talking to me. What were you saying?
Nothing. I haven't really said anything since we've been out. Are you losing it already?
She really didn't remember? I thought maybe she just didn't want to tell me, but she wasn't known to talk to herself. But we were also in an unusual environment, so maybe she was just thinking out loud. I guess. You know how the woods creep me out. We got back to the cabin around 6 p.m. I was starving. My sister immediately went upstairs to her room and shut the door. I figured she was probably getting a shower, so I started dinner. "Sis, dinner's ready!" No response. "Hey, are you good up there?" No response. I walked up the spiral staircase that led to the second floor, and I went up to her door and knocked. The door creaked open. After a few moments, she opened it the whole way, her eyes wide and bloodshot like she hadn't blinked in hours. "What the... Are you okay? Dinner's ready."
Okay, dinner, okay. What's for dinner again?
She sounded confused. Chicken dumplings, remember? One of your favorites. I smiled, but I was worried.
Okay, I'll be down.
She sounded monotone now. Around 9 p.m., she finally came down. Dinner had been cold for hours. I was getting tired, and as I lay down on the living room couch, she walked by without even acknowledging my existence. I watched her grab a plate and 2 dumplings. She ate standing in the kitchen. I looked over a few minutes later and she was putting her plate in the sink already. "Wow, hungry much?" She didn't even look at me. I was officially worried and weirded out now. This wasn't like her at all. She didn't even get done rinsing the plate before she sprinted to the bathroom. I could hear her vomiting. I remember asking myself if she could have gotten sick, but even when she was sick, she was always bright and cheerful. Not even the highest fever could break this girl's spirit. Was she pregnant? That would explain the sudden mood changes and the vomiting. But if she was pregnant, she wasn't ready to tell anyone, and I wasn't about to ask her either. After she didn't come out of the bathroom, I went to go see if she needed help. Before I could even reach the bathroom door, she swung it open. Her eyes were even worse than before.
Thank you for dinner. What an incredible trip this is. You're an incredible big brother.
She smiled a wide, toothy smile. I could see every single one of her teeth. "You're welcome," I replied. I was trying to remain calm, but I could feel myself shaking. She bolted past me and back up to her room. Now, by this point, I knew something was seriously wrong. It wasn't even about the vomiting or the weird and fast mumbling or the odd behavior. She called me an incredible big brother. I was 2 years younger than her and a girl. I went to call my mom and realized I had no service, only Wi-Fi. I decided to try and download a free texting app that didn't require data, but my calls and texts still were not going through. Around 11 p.m., I went upstairs to my room. I could hear a faint scratching sound coming from my sister's room. I quietly made my way over and pressed my ear against the door. My sister was talking fast and almost manic-like.
What a wonderful beach. I love the beach. I'm happy Dad came. I love you, Dad. Thank you for coming. What a wonderful
Trip. She was talking about our father to our father, but our father had died years ago. Panicked, I grabbed the doorknob and opened the door. It was locked. As soon as I tried to open it, though, the scratching stopped. I heard shuffling and then the click of the door unlocking. This time, she didn't peek out first. She whipped it open. The white part of her eyes were now completely bloodshot. I stared at her and watched a tear of blood roll down her face. She was smiling. "Hey, we're going home tomorrow, okay? You're not well. I tried to sound reassuring. She cocked her head to the side. Oh, okay, she replied, still smiling. I stepped out of the doorway and ran to my room. I quickly gathered all my things together. I wanted to leave right there and then, but there was no way I could drive us out of there at night. The vehicle's trail was too narrow. All it would take is one wrong swerve and we'd either go off a cliff or into a tree. I stayed up until I couldn't anymore. Ever since I left my sister's room, it had been silent. I figured she finally went to bed. I tried to stay awake all night, but I finally succumbed to the exhaustion. I only slept a few hours before I was awoken by a loud bang. It was roughly 8 in the morning. After I was fully awake, I heard another loud bang. It was coming from my sister's room. This time, I didn't knock or try to act stealthy. I barged into her room, which was unlocked to my surprise. She was sitting in the corner, facing the wall. I watched her swing her head back and slam it against the wall. I ran over to her and I pulled her away. Her forehead was bruised and bloody. She was still smiling. Behind her, I got a glimpse of the wall. It was absolutely torn to shreds. There was wood all over the carpet. She had scratched into the wood until she reached the middle. The center of the wood was covered in black mold. There were chunks of mold missing. That's when I noticed her once bright smile was a dark gray. She'd been eating it. Okay, come on, we're leaving now.
Okay, I'm gonna go play in the snow first. Isn't it beautiful?
No, we're done. You're sick.
It's beautiful. Daddy said I could go play.
He's waiting for me. Before I could go and grab her arm, she fled down the stairs and out of the front door. I tried to chase her, but she was out of my range and vision in minutes. She went toward the trails, but I didn't have the map. There's no way I'd be able to find her. I contemplated my options. I opted to get the hell out of the forest. I needed to get a signal. I was not leaving without her, though. I made it to the main road in about a half an hour. As soon as I was out of the forest, my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. I had missed calls from my mother and multiple texts from my friends. They were all saying how they were worried about me, how we hadn't even been there a full 48 hours. Why were they so worried? I called my mother first. She was frantic.
Where have you been? It has been 2 weeks. Everyone is looking for you. Are you okay?
She was in tears. 2 weeks? No way. We pretty much just got here. How could that be possible? My mother said she looked for the cabin everywhere online and couldn't find a single thing about it. Almost like it didn't exist. But it did. I was there. We were there. I told my mother about my sister and she started crying even harder. I couldn't even make out one thing she was saying other than that she was coming to pick us up. I Googled the nearest police station and told her I'd be there. When I got to the police station, I was swarmed by police. They started examining me, asking me millions of questions at once. I remember being scared and then them taking me to the hospital. But no one was listening to me about my sister. I was screaming that she was lost, but not a single person paid attention to what I was saying. The next thing I can remember was my mother holding my hand while I laid in the hospital bed. They've been monitoring your vitals around the clock. They said you're extremely lucky to be alive. My mother's voice was gentle. I started to cry. I didn't understand. I pleaded with my mother to let me talk to the police. We had to find my sister. My mother sighed. The doctor said your hallucinations should start going away soon. What? What hallucinations? What are you talking about? We need to go and find her. She ran off into the woods, Mom. She's lost and sick, and we need to— Honey, your sister has been dead for over a year now. She's not lost. I'm sorry, honey. I really am. I know it feels fresh, but once you regain your memory, I promise, it won't hurt as bad as it does right now. I closed my eyes and started to sob. I didn't understand what was happening. The only thing the doctor isn't sure of is how you managed to consume so much black mold without dying. But I promised I would take her on vacation when she graduated. I promised. She deserved it. I remember you did promise her that, but she's been gone for a while now. But I promised her. I promised her. Yeah, and you also promised me that you wouldn't stop taking your medication. And there's not a trace of it in your system. Hello, everyone. Thank you for making it to the end of the story. I really appreciate it. This story was genuinely terrifying to me. The whole psychological aspect of it was bone-chilling, and it was very, very creepy reading it. If you enjoyed it as much as I did, please share, leave a like, help the channel grow, and I will see you next time.